Recording and all set, you wanna call to order?
Did already, but I'll call you meeting order again. Pretty old. Ooh. DT,
Hello,
first up,
all right, so these fine gentlemen are from Central Maine Cost Recovery. We talked about the ambulance billing and fire department billing, and you guys wanted to kind of meet them, see what they were all about, so. I've invited them here to answer any questions you might have.
okay. Pretty much like JP has explained everything. You take a percentage of what you collect.
Yep.
Is there any minimum that you have to be guaranteed? Because our ambulance is not gonna be something that's used every day, so.
On the ambulance billing, we charge a flat fee per run. So if you send us a run that they've done, it'll be whatever we decide as a negotiated price, whether that's a percentage or a flat fee, flat out. I usually get, $20 per run at a minimum. And there's no fee to sign up, there's no minimum runs. It's just covering my cost and the cost of the person to code it and send it is basically all I'm asking for the setup. Because I can do most of the setting up, typing myself. As long as you're certified with Medicare and whatever New Hampshire calls Medicaid, then, we're good to go for billing on that end.
Is that on any run that it goes on, or is it just the transportation?
Any run,
Any run?
yeah. So if they do a treat no transport, that's billable. They can bill $150, $200, whatever their fee is on their fee schedule. We would get our percentage of that. And if you do a transport that's 100 miles, then it'd be the ambulance fee plus the mileage fee. And we get our percentage of that, whatever that may be.
So you just said, however you're set up, what do you mean, the patient themselves?
Nope, this would be final negotiations between the department and my business. I offer a percentage. Per run, or I do a fixed fee per run.
Right,
Either one.
when you were talking about Medicare, Medicaid, whatever, New Hampshire calls it depends on how you're set up.
Oh, our contract between us is how that's what the cost is based on. Medicaid, Medicare actually pays a percentage.
They dictate how much you
Yes.
actually recoup.
We would, as a town, just like for the transfer station, we'd set up a fee schedule. That says, if we go out and do this, this is what we bill at a flat rate, exactly.
On all on everything, engines, tankers, ambulance.
So yeah, the fire side of it comes into this as well for certain fire
Officer,
officers.
firefighter.
Right.
Yeah.
So we would set a fee schedule and that's what we would bill based on.
Have you established that fee schedule?
We have not. So prior to negotiating a contract with these gentlemen, we would have that stuff in place. And I believe there's still I think it's Medicare puts out like a standard fee schedule.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So most places stick right in the realm of their standard fee schedule.
Yeah, you would be. We forward you what we have for fee schedules for other departments. They standardly do about half of what you bill is what they'll pay.
So for Medicare, I can understand billing, but what about house fire or stuff like that? I mean.
So homeowners insurance is, most policies actually have a provision in there for fire response.
Yeah.
So we can bill up to that provision.
And you're involved in that with billing?
We do that billing as well. New Hampshire is a little bit different than Maine. Whereas Maine is I can go on and get a crash report or a report from the fire department and bill. With New Hampshire, I actually have to have a special form notarized by your department sent to the DMV, and then we can have the report to do what we need to do. So there's a few more steps in New Hampshire, but it's every bit as doable, and the money is there in insurance companies for scene safety, for cleanup. For protecting the scene as far as not letting anybody else hit the car again, or what have you. We're doing hundreds of thousands of dollars every year in car accidents, currently in Maine.
Were you guys looking?
We are based out of Fairfield, Maine.
Okay.
Right beside Waterville
Yeah,
on the highway.
they're up there.
And you folks just started with Generosity Fire just over the border there, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, and we're still working the kinks out. That's how we're learning what the Hampshire takes. Is working with them. And we're doing fire, and I believe we're setting up with EMS for them as well.
Yeah, and you're doing Tilton Northfield, New Hampshire as well, correct?
I would have to.
Yeah, we have.
Can't say I-
That was the first one we get.
Yeah,
I own the business. Bill is my sales person or customer representative. I work a full-time job in IT. And, have the company running itself.
My concern is from the fire department and the ambulance service, since our taxpayers are paying for that service right now. But, and let's say to go against the insurance or something like that, they're not gonna pay or whatever, do you still plan to go against the taxpayer? Try to recoup some costs?
so we as the board have that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we as the board, the fire chief have the discretion. To say, we'll take what your insurance paid and write the rest.
And that's gotta be in writing up front.
I believe typically that's how a policy would work. They would submit a
Absolutely.
hardship request essentially. And say,
I mean, you're saying the
can't afford
taxpayer
this.
is gonna submit the hardship request?
So once they get the bill, they would respond back with a letter saying, I can't pay this, I'm a taxpayer, whatever the case.
Well, yeah, I
And we
don't
would get
wanna
that.
hear the hardship, I mean, it's basically, I'm going on the taxpayer.
That's just the terminology. It's considered a hardship request, but they would just respond back to the bill saying, I'm a taxpayer, my insurance already paid their part. And then we would receive that and write the rest off. Okay,
If there was no insurance,
same deal. We would have that discretion to write it off.
but
The companies that you work with now that get recouped, what do they do with the money?
That greatly depends on the town. I have towns that put it into their general fund.
Yeah.
I have towns that give it to the departments for reinvesting into the department. I have towns that will put so much into the department fund and take the rest. It's up to the select board
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what the chief can.
Yeah, I was just curious what
Yeah.
other towns do.
We send it to either the chief or somebody you designate. And we're out of it at that point. You guys can do what you want with the funds.
Well, this one also includes the police department too, right?
It would only be for fire response, fire and medical response.
Yeah.
Okay.
And depending on how,
when you say police, you're talking about like they write tickets.
No, more from, they're at the scene
Oh,
types of thing.
Billable time,
I
like
don't think anything law
Detail.
enforcement related is.
we haven't got any information on law enforcement being able to do that.
Alright.
At this time. I'm sure it's coming. 20 years ago, we didn't bill for ambulances at all either.
I'd like to see everything in writing before I.
Well, yeah, absolutely, and we would develop, the policy I printed off was just one that I grabbed off actually the website.
Understand.
We would develop something along those lines with what the board felt was the appropriate thing, so in that policy, it would cover that. If you are a taxpayer and you get a bill, this is how we are going to handle it. That way, there's no gray area there, and as a taxpayer, we can say this is our policy on the billing.
And then I would also recommend doing. A policy that says you're gonna bill everybody. And then have it in the contract. With us in the town that. If it is a resident. We write it off.
A resident taxpayer.
Because.
Do
If.
you have examples of that? Yeah.
We do have some examples of that style stuff, and we can get you Word documents so that it's not recreating the wheel. We find that if you have it flat out in your policy that it says. Nobody's responsible for this if the insurance company doesn't pay. Then they won't pay. Period. Whether it's a resident taxpayer. We've got to be very aware of how we put it out there, because insurance companies are looking for any loophole to get
Oh, I
out
mean,
of
Yeah.
paying.
So
And
you wanna
I've
leave the
even seen,
insurance out versus just put the resident.
right, and then I've even seen it where they use the date they received the info, and it had to be out in 30 days, which means it had to been to less than 30 days. But they didn't pay it because they didn't have it in their hands in 30 days. So these people really take liberties when it comes to not paying.
They'll take a check, but they won't pay it.
Yeah.
And he can control too, as far as, we only work off the reports that you send, so if it is a resident or some you don't wanna send, then we won't have the report anyway.
Yeah, the EMS is highly regulated by Medicaid, Medicare. Those checks come directly to you. You just know, we get notification when you get the checks.
Mhm.
I mean, that's a really streamlined process. You know, we take, the runs from his reports, upload them, code them, send them electronically. That's a very smooth process.
Question, since we have Action as our primary ambulance provider. So you're looking more just for the fire department?
This is just for what we do. Action does their own billing.
I understand, but let's say if you have to go out. You said you do what, 3-4 times a year, you go out to the ambulance?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think we did 5 in this past year.
Alright, so would you bill for that?
If we go out and we are the ones that take the transport, that is when we would bill.
Okay.
But those are those occurrences where Action's not there. If Action's there with us, they're our primary, it's their call, it's not ours. We're not there.
That's what it should be, right? Yeah.
And there are occasions too where, you know, he said kind of like a treat and release kind of thing. So we go out to somebody with difficulty breathing and we give them nebulizer treatments and provide them the medications. We have to pay for those, so we have the opportunity to bill those people as well.
There's actually a lot of, the protocols have changed. Our ambulance, I'm assuming our medical director's out of Huggins. For
Yes.
your ambulance, for Effingham ambulance.
Yep.
So. The protocols used to be, if you had to give meds or anything like that outside of oxygen, you had to transport them.
Yeah.
And now you can give diabetic medication, like he just said, nebulizer breathing treatments and things like that without transporting.
Once you have your certification.
This is before you, correct.
COVID started all of that stuff.
So, so you minimizing transports, and then obviously would have to recoup the cost for those drugs, if you will, because.
We're gonna pay for it.
Albuterol and things like that are all very costly, and glucagon, glucagon and all that stuff, huge money. So it's not just the 5 times, and I believe it was 5 times in 2023, our ambulance.
Those were the times that we actually put someone in our ambulance and took them to the hospital. I couldn't even put a number on how many times we've gone out and provided treatments like that, and. You know, if we get there first, we're certified to do it, we'll provide those treatments and let Action go handle other calls. So that's the scenario.
You'll be putting in the bill,
Correct.
and Action will be putting in the bill.
No,
Well, I mean, you did initially,
so
if they transport.
you can't double dip like that.
That's what I'm-
Yeah, so we couldn't, if Action sends a bill, we can't send a bill. If we send a bill, Action can't send a bill. Medicare
Correct.
regulates that kind of stuff.
So we eat the cost if you did the initial, which is okay, I mean, but.
And if action gets canceled, correct me if I'm wrong, if action gets canceled en route, that's not a call.
There's no bill.
That's not a billable call.
And
Because
the
that's
other
what the
thing-
contract is for, is to provide the service. That's why we have a contract, and then they try to recoup some of their losses by billing the insurance companies. So if they don't transport, they've got no bill to generate, so.
Got it.
And a lot of times, our handshake agreement with Action is if we're there and we get XYZ medication, we pull it off their truck before they leave. Because they're gonna bill for it. So we pull it off the truck and get this, we do it.
Basically.
And there is also the paramedic intercept, so if you pick up a paramedic.
Yeah.
You know, they'll bill you for the paramedic and you'll bill the run.
Yeah.
That type of stuff.
And then they're gonna use really expensive drugs if we have a narcotics box on the truck. So.
We're not putting a narcotic box on.
Okay, okay,
That was my foot going down right there,
Okay.
Nothing to do with
all
narcs.
right.
Yeah.
I have no issue with that.
They could come from elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that. Those medic intercepts generally bring their own box, so
Yes, yes.
I'm okay with that.
And we're here to help. You know, we're not trying to. Make a lot of money on setting up small companies like this. You know, our competitor charges thousands of dollars just to set them up. To me, I can sit with an hour after work and type all the information in. I'm not gonna charge you for that.
Mhm.
Because it's helping me and it's helping your community
So you just make a commission off based on that.
on the runs we actually do.
For reference, I did speak with another company before these gentlemen, back when we first licensed the ambulance. And they quoted us $30,000 as a setup fee, not even sending them around, $30,000 just to even talk to us. So,
Now I'm assuming there must be some sort of software where he populates a run and sends that to you. Is that your software? Is that our software?
Typically, that's his software.
the state run reporting software.
Okay.
We don't
And-
use that.
It has a standard reporting. We just go in, say Nemesis 3 whatever, or 5, or whatever you're running. Upload, it takes all of his information, puts it in the correct box. Our coder just looks at it, makes sure he's got all his information in a row. Puts the proper codes in for Medicare, Medicaid, and insurance companies. And then it goes down the line to me, I approve them. You know, I've taken the certified
Same
ambulance
thing in the
coder,
hospital.
just a manager with a second pair of eyes. And then they send it,
Mhm.
you know, it's a few clicks and we're done.
So
And that's
there's
why
no-
we don't charge a lot of money.
So there's no need for additional software or anything from, okay.
Nope. And honestly, it cost me $2.50 per run to have my software. So that's why I have a nominal fee, is I gotta pay a person to upload it and I've gotta pay. That $2.50, so how much is that actually costing me?
Got it.
And my business model is. Help as many of these guys as I can, so it helps us all.
Perfect. I don't have any more questions.
And then, as we learn more on the fire side in New Hampshire, I'll be rolling out information. To other departments, because we took on New Hampshire, and it was like. Hey, wake up, we do things different here.
So that can be implemented with the fire? I mean, are you?
That's
willing
okay.
to- or-
So if we signed a contract with you and had a building fire the next day, are you prepared to send a bill for that? currently?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It'll
We,
be a combination, yeah, let's end the fire.
yeah, and you know, we can do car accidents, car fires. Anything they stand out directing traffic, like your power companies,
Mhm.
and they've been out there 8 hours holding signs. We can bill that to the power company. You know, we'd get a lot of that kind of billing out through.
Okay.
Is it all or none, or is it one and you're okay with that? Like, if we chose just to do EMS runs?
I am fine, whatever you wanna do. You know, to me, it's just money laying out there. If you choose not to go after it. I can't force you to. But if you wanna go after it, I'm here to help you.
And what's your success rate after those type of autos, fire
We're running about 45%
success rate
success rate.
with the insurance?
The only reason we're running that bad is because the insurance companies will cover it for a while, then not cover it. And right now, I'm going after the commissioner in Maine because I had Progressive 2 years straight paying everything. And then January of 2021, they just said, nope, we're not paying them anymore. And I don't have the legal, the financial stability to hire the lawyers to go after them.
Yeah, the lobbyists.
So, yeah, so they're just using their big muscle to hold me back.
Mhm.
You know, and that was hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. They just decided not to pay.
How about the electrical companies with the poles and stuff? I mean, with the wires down? I mean,
They are very responsive. We actually have open POs with Central Maine Power and Versa. Any company they have, we just tell them, hey, this company went, we put it against that PO.
Okay.
So those are good money and
I think
those
they
are
get a
quick
lot of
money.
assistance money too, that probably they filter right through.
You know, any trailer trucks. You have one crash. And it's his fault.
Mhm.
Those are good money, quick money.
Oh, yeah, it's a company.
You know, they have millions of dollars worth of insurance sitting there waiting to be paid out.
I got it.
You know, so even if you don't do car accident billing, if you get one of them, send it through. Cause we'll do one-offs. You know, it's not about the money, it's about helping your department.
Okay, good.
So if we have an ordinance in town for nuisance fire alarm. So if we're going somewhere, a business for multiple fire alarms, we have the authority to bill them for those occurrences. Is that something you would handle?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. We would do that. We do not do collections, however. So we will send them 1, 2, 3, 4 letters, final notice, if you choose. But collections beyond that, my wife said no. Flat out, not gonna happen.
We
So,
have a lot of examples.
I got one big one sitting up on a mountain.
Which
Treatment center, the treatment center,
Gotcha.
We're
you
getting
know,
there.
and some departments.
New
actually-
Year though.
Some departments actually scale those, so the first one is free, second one, $250, third one, $500. And they get ridiculous, and you know, sometimes when you get up there and you're actually collecting it, it's cheaper to fix their equipment than it is to pay that
Mhm.
alarm.
That's what it is.
And it's mostly to encourage them to fix their equipment.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
I'm good.
So much. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Look forward to working with
Good,
you.
right on.
Yeah,
Yeah, at least you're going in the right direction. It's going behind you.
exactly.
I just talked to our police sergeant. He's right in the middle of it, so. He's on his way back from Ohio, so.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not in the middle of it.
Yeah,
I'll beat it home.
yeah, good for you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you very much.
And
I see.
I would have loved-
They get 6
oh, cool.
amongst 4 of them.
Yeah, so I don't want this to be a, you know, let's screw our taxpayers into paying us more money. That's not what this is about, but. The outsiders, there's definitely, you know, you're visiting our town and incurring costs. They should get a bill. And if, even if our taxpayers pay insurance money, you know, like you said, it's all sitting out there. We should at least make an attempt at grabbing it. That's my opinion.
And I agree to an extent, and like. There is a very distinct difference between taxpayer and resident. Well, there is, but there isn't.
Oh, absolutely.
You're still a taxpayer,
Yep.
you know, you still
In a
foot the
roundabout
bill
way,
for
yeah.
all of us. So if you're coming to your second home, you can't vote, but you're a resident of Effingham in my eyes.
Right.
And
No, it wouldn't be a resident, be a taxpayer. If you can't vote, you gotta be a resident to vote.
right, I get the legality, that's not what I was saying. I didn't mean, literally, you could vote because you pay taxes, you own property, that's not what I meant. I just meant that, you know, if you have people that have a house on Providence Lake and they have for 100 years, or,
They're paying the taxes.
you know, they're paying their taxes.
Yeah, they're a taxpayer. They wouldn't be a resident. Is what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying,
Okay.
All right, go ahead. Finish.
but you're still a taxpayer.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And when I say that, I'm talking more about, you know.
Yeah.
Your people driving through the
Yeah.
crash, you know,
Yeah.
they don't live here, but they're using our services.
But where I was going with that is I personally, as a selectman, and I get what he's saying, insurance company, you have to bill.
Mhm.
Even if you're gonna write them 90% of them off.
Yep.
You have to bill, because if you can't pick and choose who you bill, because the
Correct.
insurance companies will deny everybody. I get that, but for me, I never wanna see a bill go to anybody that lost their house in a fire, or it got severely damaged. Whether you're a resident or a taxpayer.
I get that, I get that.
I just don't. I mean, as somebody lost my house in this town, I don't wanna sound dramatic, my family was never the same.
Mhm.
Ever the same after that house fire. And to add insult to injury, them sitting there, even if they can write it off to see that bill, I would never support that, not for a house fire.
I understand that.
I do like the idea of it, never really thought of it, like the power line things. You take like that storm of last year of December 24. I say last year, like it's still 2023, 2022.
Or maybe later on tonight, for that matter.
Hopefully not.
Live tomorrow.
But you know, that's
Well, and like you said, if we say a building fire is our hard stop and that we're not gonna send it, I just don't send it. You know what I mean? And I have no heartache about that. I totally understand your point. I've never had a house fire, but my aunt did. I'm very close with my aunt and they lost everything. Been there, I've been on that side of it too, and it sucks on that
Yeah.
side. And like you said, it's never the same.
So you're in agreement with both resident and taxpayer not to be charged for insurance company? In other words, from a resident standpoint,
if they don't have insurance. If they don't have insurance, they don't get.
I mean, I guess
you have insurance in your house. Like
Oh, you mean for house fire? Yeah, it don't matter. House fire.
resident or taxpayer.
I mean, no matter.
But it don't matter, because
Building
you're,
fire.
you could just say if you're a taxpayer in Effingham, if you're building fire, because.
I hear you.
You're still a taxpayer in town, so
And if there's a building that's gonna burn this town,
is your
as a
taxpayer.
taxpayer on the other end of it, so
Exactly.
we rule out building fires, I mean,
Yeah.
that's basically it, we're not gonna have a non-resident, non-taxpayer building fire, it just
Yeah.
can't physically happen.
Okay.
And again, I get it, I totally understand that, but like you said, the storm calls and things like that. There's potential there, like car accidents, there's potential there.
I mean, TT units, we all know how often they travel Route 25.
Yeah,
And, through this whole gas station thing, I've said, you can't regulate that, we can't enforce them to go a different route.
Yeah.
But I mean, one Sunday, we sat at Abbott's, a little coffee click there, and we counted 17 loaded fuel trucks heading from the depot in South Portland.
well, it takes one of those and it's gonna get expensive real quick.
That's between 9,000 and 10,000 gallons of fuel right there in one of those tanks, and God forbid they blow a tire in. But I mean, that could be huge.
Yeah.
Carroll County hazmat task force, if it still exists, and it's kind of the
Sort of.
yeah.
Sort of, but
But yeah, that's the only thing I have. Building fires.
I'm in agreement with that.
So going forward, we're just gonna wait for you to come back to us with.
Yeah, so if you're in favor of moving forward with this, I'll start drafting the policy and together we'll make that policy happen, and that can be our kind of our step one. Obviously, there's work to be done, like you said, getting validated with Medicare and all that stuff, that's a whole boatload of paperwork too, so I'll have to start that process. I wasn't gonna start it if we weren't gonna go for this, but if we're thinking we're gonna move down that road, I'll get all those balls rolling.
We have to figure out where the reimbursement's gonna go.
Yeah, I mean, if we were to say yes right now, ultimately it's gonna default to the general fund.
Yeah.
But, where I've worked before, it's always dumped into a fire equipment fund of some kind. Just because you're gonna either take that from taxes or you take it from the revenue you make yourself.
Right, but even like the budget committee chair said before, if we'll be able to keep track of how much that money is that's going in the general fund. And then the budget season, we could take that money for our unreserved fund balance or capital reserve fund or things like that, that earmark, say it's $6,000 that's in there, we take that $6,000 out of the general fund.
By not designated, you almost give yourself more freedom to put it where it needs to go that year.
Okay.
I do have a question, and if this is an inappropriate question for public, if it's like more towards the personnel thing. Do you see this as a
Word it right.
yeah,
You want me to step out, Chris?
no, because the cameras are on too, but I appreciate that also though. I don't want to see this, I'm curious if this is going to increase the ambulance runs of transports for our ambulance, thus potentially adding more.
I don't see that,
You know what I'm trying to get at?
I do,
I mean, is this order for using our ambulance to transport more than Action?
no,
Because that contract is so expensive
right,
for the town.
I don't see that being the case. And the transports that we did have over the past year, every occurrence was a situation where Action didn't have a truck available because all three were out on other calls.
Right.
There was never a situation where Action was close by and we were like, we're gonna go, we can bill for this, we're gonna get out of here.
Okay,
No,
you guys see what I'm trying to.
Yeah.
what I'm
Oh,
saying?
yeah, definitely.
I mean, that was the concern with the ambulance from the start, was that, we would show up and just say, we're gonna go before they get here. That's. None of the people that work for me are interested in doing the transports, that's why they like it here. We don't do that. So. When we need to, we will, but outside of when we need to, we don't want to.
So I'm just touching on Chris, is there a way we can solidify this? That in the future, let's say you're running around or whatever, we can make sure that action is number one.
added to the policy he's gonna be putting together.
Yeah,
That's what I'm trying to
Yeah,
get
To
to.
that statement.
yeah.
Yeah, I just want, I want something in there, right, so that taxpayers ask, or you, let's say something happens, you go 20 calls.
Yeah.
You transport something, but that will happen here.
but I will say that regardless of who it is, as far as answering to the taxpayers, they're gonna get billed. Be it from us or through a system or through action.
Oh,
Action's billing too.
Right, right. But I'm talking about taxpayers and basically.
And, you know, it's
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean?
where this whole system with this billing stuff, you know, we talked about the building fires already, but. You know. It's no different than you go to a cardiac arrest and your loved one. Passes away at the scene and we're there, whether it's with Action or our town. You know, we spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in medical equipment between medications and IVs and AED pads and everything else that we use there. Most of the time a bill gets sent after that. And, you know, as a human being, that's the worst feeling ever, knowing that, you know, someone's loved one just died and now we're gonna send them a bill for it. But at the same time. You spent thousands of dollars. Who has to foot that bill at the end of the day? It's gonna come from somewhere, whether it comes from an ambulance bill that goes to the patient's insurance. Or it comes out of taxation in general.
Right. Well, you know, what, the patient has insurance, I mean, it's okay, I mean,
That's what it's for.
It's just you gotta, for me, you gotta use caution because people look at it as like double dipping.
Absolutely,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
They're like, we're paying taxes, we're paying for you to be there anyway. And then to add insult to injury, so to minimize that, I mean, if you try to not send them a bill on their worst day. And that's a perfect example, cardiac arrest, but.
Yeah,
The ambulance is gonna send that, and that's, you know, it's not like, you know, the hospital is gonna say, well, they died, so we forgive the bill.
exactly.
That's not gonna happen.
Exactly. So,
I'm done.
Yeah.
Do,
Draft something up.
Okay.
Work on it.
There's gotta be other towns that already done something like this, you should be able.
yeah, we did.
their website, the company that was just here, their website actually has every agency they work for and the policy they created to start billing. So that was just one.
That was one I had, yeah.
Yeah, that was just one I grabbed. So, unfortunately, they're only doing 2 or 3 in New Hampshire. They're doing 2 currently. We would potentially be the 3rd. So there's not a lot of documentation from New Hampshire departments, but really it doesn't matter that much. A policy from Maine versus a policy from New Hampshire, as long as it's state law. Which ours would. So. Yeah, and I mean, as far as the ambulance billing stuff, like I said, the Medicare and the Medicaid stuff is a lengthy, time-intensive process. I'll start that, but I don't want to start it if you're not going to be in favor of it. So can you give me guidance on that? Do you want me to start that or do you want me to wait?
Billing?
The Medicare and Medicaid paperwork process that we'll have to do before we can contract with them. We have to get validated with them, and that basically allows them to send us checks.
Yeah.
Right. I just don't want to start that process and put hours into it.
I
and then
appreciate
say,
you
"Oh,
asking
we're not
that,
ready."
yeah.
So.
Yep.
Move forward. Thank you, JP.
You're welcome.
Before you leave, JT, you
I'm
get
on.
my text today?
I did. I got a lot of work for you.
Is that something you can do?
One way or another, yes.
Okay, I'm gonna need it in detail
Yep,
to send to L-Check, because they've got to approve before we do that install.
right.
Okay.
Is that the intent?
Yeah.
The intent. I've been at the approval anyway, so if it passes the town meeting, right, if it doesn't pass, I still don't submit that anyway.
Well, we're gonna talk about that.
We
today.
still gotta talk about that,
Yeah, we gotta decide if we're gonna approve it.
we didn't approve it last
Did
meeting.
you have that, were you already aware of that? That we wanted to talk more about that?
Briefly, I got the cliff notes that we wanted to talk about it.
You sent me I got an email with a
Yeah.
picture.
Yes,
And you,
I did.
Can't
send
open
that
it,
after
can't
that.
open it.
Yes,
It's a big file.
it doesn't open at all.
oh no, I got a picture, but it says that you can see it and you can't, I can clearly see everything except for the antenna.
That's the same color, like,
It's the same color, and
I hate to say it, Chris, but that's kind of the point.
Well, I know, and I didn't wanna,
If you can imagine a piece of 1/2-inch PVC, that's your antenna,
yeah, I saw
and
it.
it runs right in with that pillar. Pull it up on my phone too, if that's easier.
I don't wanna sound like a smart ass,
Get it
but
right.
There's no, I didn't even see an attachment.
I don't wanna contaminate everybody.
There's,
Thank you.
there's, there's a hand, there's nothing attached to that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Is there another pole?
I don't know.
Yeah, right there.
Oh,
That's it.
Yeah, that's a picture I got.
all right.
Yes.
So basically, there's, if you can imagine a bracket that mounts to that pillar with a round center, the antenna would go through the round center, and that would be the attachment point. Right now, that's just leaning up against. That just happens to be one of the ones we got for the station. It's gonna be the same antenna for that project, but we had that, so I brought it up and figured out. Actual demonstration.
So
Do we go forward
are
or?
we discussing it now or take that? Or no, later?
I don't know.
If you wanna discuss it during the regular meeting, the only reason I'm saying that is 3:40. Almost, and I know Chuck has a good.
Well, we can-
You can do it later. I'm just kinda letting you know what my ground rules are. I get 2 weeks. So if you think you're gonna do it, I'll submit it anyway. And if it doesn't happen, no bad.
We'll have an answer by next,
Okay.
or this afternoon, later tonight.
Yeah,
You sticking around?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, packets you have. Inside the packet. Summary sheet. I'm not gonna go read through everything in here today. We haven't got enough time. There are 3 things I am gonna review today.
Just before you continue on, we went through it, I went through it with Chuck yesterday. So already.
So. I wanna come out of here today with the decision on 2 companies. With that decision to go, I need to start a contract process. And I need to try and get them under contract within a week. And when you have your next public select board meeting. We will go after a manifest for 2 checks. We will not send those checks out, Caitlin and I, until I have the contract back. And they're completed and I know we're okay. But L-chip right now has a 4 to 6 week approval time. To look at projects. We haven't even submitted this yet. It's gonna take another week and a half for them to give me the construction package so I can create it and submit it. The Bell Company, if I don't get them a deposit check in the next couple of weeks, we're probably not gonna be doing any tower work this year. Because it's all dependent on the leak. And the fixing the repairs with those guys. It's just a 4 to 5 month lead time. And we just need to get it signed. That's the only reason I'm pushing today for 2. Because I need to make sure we get these in place so I can start the process to keep us on a schedule to get the job done this year. Any big questions on that? I'm gonna go into a little bit more detail. Okay. What I've done here,
Got a question. So
Go ahead.
you're looking for a 2 weeks approval from the board. The next board.
I need it approved now.
You need
And a
approval.
check the next.
When you
manifest.
get to your next manifest, I
So
need,
you want us
I
approval
need 2
tonight?
checks. And I will let Caitlin know what those deposit amounts are.
Got it.
But you'll have the contracts in your hands, you'll be able to calculate that yourself if you want. So the first thing I want to take a look at is the L-chip agreement. So with any grant, there's a grant agreement. I'm all set to pull the trigger on it, but I did not want, I got it a day and a half ago. I'm not doing anything until I'm just running this by you guys, just to make sure you're fully aware of what we're into. So on the very first page, you'll see where on the left-hand column, I kind of did a squiggly black mark down the side of the L-chip scope of work. Anything covered by their part of the grant fits into this box or it doesn't get covered, period. The box has been worded as loose as possible for the unexpecteds. But that is what it is right there. So if something pops up that's not in this,
No post meeting.
like Post Beatles, then I gotta go back to the table and see if I can take something off here and get it added in, it's a whole process. So I'm just letting you know there. When you flip over to the 3rd page in, you'll see that they've installed a brand new process starting in 2024 for 2023 grants. I am now gonna have to do a midterm report at the end of our first 50% of the money. So once I've signed the grant, they've approved the project, we're gonna get the first 50% of the grant. By October 1st, 2024, I've got to submit a very detailed report around everything we've accomplished, and then they will do a site review on that. Excuse me, and if they're happy, we continue moving forward. If they're not happy, then we'll have to address stuff. And I'm not expecting we'll have any issues, but I'm just letting you know that right up front. Flipping to the next page, you'll see at the top of the page, the grant agreement contract. Up until this last year, LCHIP has had a policy that said each time they issue a grant, there's a period of time where they have a grant agreement where there's a requirement to have things approved by LCHIP before anything's done to the building. When we did the first grant back in 2002, that was a 10-year agreement. Annually, there's gonna be a report completed, condition report. We do it, we gotta hire it done, whatever. We can usually do it ourselves. It's that simple, but it's gotta be done. With the second grant we just completed, we already have entered into the 15-year agreement. When we get done this grant, under the old policy, it was supposed to put us into a perpetual agreement with no cap on years. They changed their policy, so it's a 15-year cap. So it means the annual reports only have to go in for a 15-year period of time. So when we're finally done this thing in 2025, beginning in 2026, 15 years out, annual reports have got to be done. And they're all done online. So it makes it a lot easier to track it and look at everything related to the building. The first one I'm going to be doing is next year based on the grant agreement for last year. The following page, when you take a look at that one, the stewardship term, you'll see where LCHIP says they need at least 45 days to review anything before anything can be done. I've had a discussion with the senior consultant yesterday and this morning, and that's why we're moving forward with the two contractors we're going to recommend today. The field of documentation we have will meet the review without an issue. I circled down at the very bottom of that midpoint documentation package. This is to give you an idea of the stuff that I'm going to have to pull together. When you flip over to the following page, you'll see item D under item 4 in the final document package. Stewardship plan. This is a very detailed plan on what the future stewardship of the building is going to be. I had to create one of those for this last grant. Fortunately, the formatting is the same formatting for this one. So workload wise, this is not going to be much to update this when we have to do that at the end of 2025. The rest of it is examples of everything I've got to do and outlines of everything I've got to do. I will be punching that this afternoon to start that process so I can then begin to get the construction package. Under the list, the first item is double doors. We have 2 contractors out of 3 that have 1 declined when requested. 2 have provided proposals. These are the interior double doors in the front foyer and the exterior parking lot double doors needing to be completely restored. The proposal you have from Rooster Productions is only for the parking lot double doors. The one for the interior is coming to me. I want to approve this exterior one now if we can, or whenever you are willing to do it, because we need to try and start getting that job scheduled with him. On the Jacobs Glass proposal, you'll see that there's 3 different proposals. One was for the front double doors, which they ended up winning the award on. The inside foyer at 13.1 and the parking lot at 13.7. So you can see that Rooster Productions is less expensive in creating the restoration of the parking lot double doors.
So we're at $2,000 less. approximately.
I don't need a decision on this one right now, but I'm not asking for. A decision on this, I'm giving you these two so you can take a look at them. And we can talk about them. In a few weeks, I'll schedule another work session in a couple weeks. Any quick questions off the top of your mind?
Yeah, one from Jacobs, the top line is 23,000, it's already been done, maybe.
Yep, that was what I need with the grant,
Yeah.
and they actually reduced their price. When I basically told them I had 20 grand to spend under a grant, they brought it down to 20.
Cool.
Now they're eating extra because of the additional finish work they're doing on the building.
No, we're not paying for it, or.
No? No, the project paid half of it,
Mhm.
Moose Lake Grant paid 10,000 of it. And part of the project, there was a Lenny Esty family donation that paid part of that. Had something to do with a birthday last year, I believe.
Yeah, well,
The next item under the cupola work, this is the one where I need decision today on one. There are two proposals on top, one is Cheating Slate, one is Valley Restoration. This is for the cupola repairs for the leak, the railings, and the bell work. So GD Slate gave us a proposal last year, provided a good base for us to start dealing from to fix the copper leaks in the
Right.
seams.
Can I interrupt? If you look at. DD Slate, you'll see the pictures of where the copper coming apart. That was smaller.
Yeah. Yeah, they did a good job of documenting the
Yeah.
problems.
So we're up there on the roof. That's what we're looking at. And that's where, this top one is where the water is leaking into the portion.
The bell tower. Every time it rains, we get water in the room directly beneath the landing of the cupola. So the proposal was basically with GD Slate. Fix the seam. Provide us 4 brackets, stainless steel. To connect the new restored railings on. And then I strong-armed one of our project people we overseen to volunteer to build the railings out of some pressure treated and pine to get us where we needed to be. That was the initial proposal. After we submitted that, we continued to go out after more proposals, and Valley Restoration came to our mind. Valley Restoration is basically proposing to fix the seam, put up red cedar railings, so we'll have some longevity,
And about.
and the balusters for that. And there was a concern as we got into this, after we submitted our application, that by using pressure treated or pine up at that level might create a much more needed maintenance, painting and maintenance job than the red cedar would. Red cedar is gonna last a whole lot longer. We were also, as we got more into it, uncomfortable with the attachment requirements of the stainless steel post holdings that GD Slate had. Because the only way they wanted to do it was to drive bolts all the way down through the roof into the soffits. So we would be looking up at the building and seeing endpoints sticking out of the soffits. And we weren't comfortable with that. So Valley Restoration's got a unique process they use to connect it onto the roof, which will not require that. GD Slater also offered when they were talking with Leo to lift the bell, help us lift the bell, which is several hundred pounds. And it had to be basically either lifted and held there during the entire restoration process, or by crane, taken off and moved down to the ground. As we were going back over it, after I was pulling information together in the last month, we discovered that GD Slate never gave us any dollar figure for helping us with that process. So we basically, when Valley was basically looking at the process, they came to us and said, That's part of what we do. We'll include it in our proposal. And we will take care of lifting the bell. Creating the new blocks under the bell and repositioning the bell back onto the roof. So if I add up,
The bell does not come off the tower.
it won't come off the tower at all. So if I add up the price tags of both of these. To get the bell in the air, get that fixed and back down. Get the railings in and fix the leak. Valley's about $5,000 cheaper. There's another slight advantage to it that is part of the bell. I'm also recommending we take a look at the Verdun Bell Company, which if you look at the next three proposals underneath that same packet. The first one is a proposal out of Vermont. It's not even a proposal, it's an email. Could get a proposal. The second one is About Time Restorations, the other one is Verdun Bell and Fox. Part of this whole project is going to require contractors coordinating their time closely. Because the bell system has to be picked up and moved, repair part of that done. The bell put back in place, a lot more work done on the roof than the final seam closures of the roof. You can't just seal the floor and then have everybody walking on it while they're doing their work because it can open up the seams again. I truly believe that's part of the problem we've got right now is with some of the walking up there that's caused that. Valley Restorations works with both companies, About Time Restorations, and their bell work as well as Verdun Bell. They've worked with them all over the New England and the East Coast. When I talked to L-Chip yesterday, excuse me, L-Chip is very familiar with Verdun because other L-Chip grants have supported Verdun work in New Hampshire. Verdun's price with the panel that we're looking at puts the price tag at about $12,000. It is cheaper than the About Time. And it is less expensive, it's more expensive than the church specialties. I've just got a concern on church specialties because I can't get better levels of detail out of the company around what they're gonna do and how they're gonna do it. So,
So you're looking for approval for Valley and Verdun?
correct.
Okay.
The bell itself will be an external attachment ringer. They're all custom made from what I'm finding out with the research I'm doing, so it's not different there. That's the piece for 4 to 5 months lead time. There will be a panel down in the utility room, which will allow the town / library to determine when that bell rings, how often that bell rings, when that bell rings. So,
Bring up the donation. I like that.
when I was talking to Sean Kane at About Time, he said he's worked with numerous churches. And what the churches have done, once they get the bell ringing again, they actually use them as fundraisers. And one of the best fundraisers they've used them at is birthday fundraisers. Like, I want to basically give Chris a birthday present, so I'm gonna make a donation, and I want that bell to ring
40 times.
40 times on your birthday.
Add.
So, but as a result of that, he said people just love it, and he said it becomes a great little donation
Yeah,
fundraising
kids
kind
would love that.
of event.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we do our street dates and our street dance and our,
Street fair.
street fair, we can let the kids ring it for 25 cents, ring the bell. We can let them do that, so. We can put them in, if there's any kind of events the town wants to do, or even during the street fair, the street dance for that time period, ring it on the hour, ring it on the half hour kind of thing. There's different ways we can do it.
I have an engraving tool from metal, you could, do a fee and you could go sign the bill.
Not at that height, you know, it's a liability.
Yeah, I don't think.
So what you just said is you don't trust this garbage fills in the railing he's gonna build?
I feel safer, Chris, with knowing that he won't have to touch that, no.
I wouldn't wanna put a graffiti onto the bell, that's very expensive bell.
So, Verdun and Valley are the two that I would make a recommendation to the board that we look at after.
So. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see that's not a total, right, Chuck, on Verdell, I mean, not Valley.
Let's look at Valley then.
I see the,
So there's 4 parts to them. There's balustrade, that's the railings, copper work, bell cradle. The Masonic gilding is not part of L-chip work,
okay,
so it's not part of their price tag.
Yep.
They will be involved with that, but that is a separate, call it a sub-project outside L-chip. While we have the lift here for the month, and we're doing all the work at the top of the tower, it makes sense, we're gonna do the Clover Leaf windows at the same time, we're gonna coordinate that, and we're gonna basically coordinate getting the gilding done. With their recommendations, so we're gonna look at taking the Masonic G and the gold symbols and making them in a gold leaf.
And Lenny doesn't approve with the square over the compass.
Compass will be over the square when we're done.
Well, it should be.
I went back and looked at that plate glass picture from 1890 again, it's still just the way it is right there today.
You know, when I drew that up there, I mean, over the paper. I swear that's where it was.
It could have been, I
But we will fix it, so
the total. So what is the total we would be making a motion to approve for Valley?
$54
um,
for Valley.
okay, so.
That's right.
So for Valley, it's the top 3, 22.9, 26.7, and 4,500.
54, right?
I haven't added it.
Yeah, we did this.
I know, but I didn't write it down, he did.
I wrote down 54,000.
Okay, wait a minute, let's just.
Well, you've proven yourself at the budget meetings.
Uh,
With math works, right?
54,100.
54-1,
That's
thank you,
table.
Caitlin,
You're welcome.
54-100 on that one, and with Bergen. Let me just add that one,
Oh, that's an ad?
Separate. That's the bell.
Right, I was.
That was 1,200, right?
12,390,
That's for Verdun.
correct.
12,390. I make a motion that we approve and accept the bid proposal from Verdeen Bells and Clocks for the historic town hall restoration project of $12,390.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I make, what the hell did I just do now?
Valley restorations.
Yeah, what did you do? Oh, forget, sorry. I make a motion that we approve and accept the bid for work again on the historic town hall project from Valley Restorations LLC and Historic Plastering Solutions LLC in the total of $54,100
I'll
for
second,
balustrade, copperwork, and bell cradle.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. So Caitlin, I'll work with both you guys to get the contract stuff ready. Once I know I've got it back, I'll bring it into you. And I'll work out with you what the deposit piece has to be before the next meeting. I'll have it.
Sounds wonderful.
And in the intern, down the road, EPS will be getting it back to the town.
Either way. I mean, the money's coming back,
Right.
so it's either when the state, I mean, the LCHIP thing comes in or the.
Yeah.
I mean, we will have everything trued up. All right,
And Chuck, just my own mental, I think you answered this question already, but on this cover page you gave us, where it says decline, that means they declined to bid on it?
or even return a call.
Okay,
They were referrals of some kind in all cases, like the New Hampshire Preservation Alliance Directory of Contractors. Or whatever, in this case, with that particular one, Leo reached out to them and they said, we're not interested. And the decline. We get the electric part, I mean, I'm reaching out to tons of people and I can't get anybody to call me back. But I'll touch base quickly on
you know,
that.
just always for me, I'm always leaning towards the angle of a resident. You know what I mean?
Yep,
If they're a resident, obviously Jason Earl would be, as long as he's, you know. Comparable in his bids and stuff, you know, he's a resident of town, Amidon Electric, again, resident of town,
he won't do anything with us.
okay,
They declined it.
Yeah, I've tried to get Dana since day one, he won't touch the building,
okay.
so.
Declining.
I had that question from George yesterday, how come we're asking for electric money? When I got done explaining to him what I've gathered over the last 4 years. He said, that's why when you see what he wrote on the agreement, he wrote electrical for the entire building. That's the way he worded it, even though we're not going after the entire building. But he did it after I had that discussion to make sure that he knows what we're doing.
I just have one more question, the lift that the group is renting the lift, correct?
No, we are. We are, town is,
Right, with the town, right, I say group, I meant
yeah,
the
the project,
project,
correct.
do you know where that lift is coming from?
I'm willing to take, I mean, I went out and found the highest quote I could find for my application. I wanna go back to the table and get some more.
So
Um,
MB Tractor rents them. The service manager for MB Tractor is a resident of Effingham. Mr. Gary Dean, so,
Okay,
and they have, I mean, as far as lift goes, if you need to rent a lift, especially one that's gonna reach that high. It's probably the only place locally, and I say locally because they're in Conway
yeah, it's
and the
100
former Profile Motors. They're the closest one, it's
Yeah,
either gonna be
100
them, Taylor or Coleman, and
120 footers what we need.
Yeah.
Quote I got out of Epson. And they like, I got them in line, they're like 12.9 or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I'm willing to, that's one of those things, because it'll be a project, but we're doing it. I can go get more quotes and I can find a better price. That's what we're doing with all this
Yeah.
stuff. We're updating existing bids we had from a year and a half ago. But we're also going out and getting a whole bunch of new bids. So it's not just relying upon the stuff we would home did, we're continually going after stuff to lower our price. Some of the stuff in like this morning, 1 or 2 more higher, number below. So far, everything I've come back with. Even the high and the lows, I'm below where I had when I submitted the application. So,
yeah, I mean, if we got approved for a certain amount of dollar money, I would have absolutely no shame in guilting Gary into working as magic and getting us a good deal. And
I will,
Touch base with them when.
we'll reach out, I'll reach out to that. Okay, window restoration. Again. I don't want you to look at it today. Don't need a decision today. Windows are the one piece. As part of the exterior of the building that is not project construction dependent on anybody. So whether we do it in 2024, do it in 2025, we've got latitude. Jacobs has got previous history with the building in glass. I love their work. The quality is superior. I will tell you, Talus came to us as a recommendation. They're out of New York. And basically, they had extensive conversations with me about details of stuff. And that, when they brought back their proposal, I was extremely surprised. You can see the attached page. Super detail on everything they're doing. I haven't seen that out of anybody from a glass company yet, so. I've looked at their work online, I've talked to the person that I had the referral from. I'm comfortable that either one of these can work for us. And I'm not asking for a decision on this one right now, I just want you to be looking at it.
What's nice about this, though, is 24 windows, but the storm windows are already in place, so they can pull the windows right out.
Correct.
And do it anytime.
lodging expenses. Tell them, you got any goat milk paint? That's why the murals were there, right? That was a paint.
Well, I will tell you, with the guys out of New York. Jacobs actually now has relatives over in Austin. so I know how he keeps his price down. The guy's out of New York. If they're awarded by the board. And they get the contract, their lodging will be at Snow Farm for the 4 days they're out here, so.
Not PK.
I'm
As I
gonna,
said, probably around the
no,
PK.
I'm gonna take care of it. So that's what, and Pisgah basically declined. The cloverleaf windows. Is one that is the next one in there from your clip. Jacobs is on the top, their quote is 26.3. And Northwood Sash and Joinery is 35. A lot of their costs, as you look at it, is gonna involve labor, excuse me, not only the travel and lodging is included in theirs. Again, with either one of these, I could go with it. I've been doing some homework on these Northwood Sash recommendations to use a wood called the Koya. ACCOYA, I believe is what it is. It's an acetate impregnated pine board or poplar. And it basically like doesn't rot. It just does not rot. You can only use stainless steel screws on it because if you use any other screw on it, it completely eats it away. And when you mount it against whatever you're gonna mount it against, you have to put a barrier between it and whatever you're gonna mount it to, otherwise it eats that away. I'm just gonna personal question where it's newer, whether at that height we want to take a look at something that might be a newer state-of-the-art kind of board that might be very popular 10, 20 years down the road versus mahogany today, which we know is a proven hardwood resistant to rot. But I'll let you look at both of these in detail. And I'll ask, again, in 2 weeks, I'm gonna ask for another show with you folks, and when I do, we'll go over that
Do
one.
you want approval for the cloverleafs?
I don't need the clover leaves approved right now.
L-chip won't let you use ASACs, right? Plastic,
They don't want that, no. They want a wood of some kind.
yeah.
And I talked to George yesterday about the Akoya. He said it's been used on buildings in their projects. He did tell me the professional reviewers they have on their review teams for construction projects have questioned it because it is so new, nobody doesn't know a whole lot about it. And I'm just thinking right now, I'm more comfortable, for the next 20 to 40 years of cloverleaf windows being up there, that mahogany might end up being a better.
And what was the example that they used this wood on? You said, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
The Akoya, L-chip said they've used it on the exterior as some building trim.
Oh, okay, just, okay.
Building trim, but it's one of those things like, other than it was proposed. People questioned it, but they allowed it. They haven't got enough experience to understand whether it's working or not working for the long term. But I will tell you, with the internet research I did, as good a wood as it looks like it might be, the acidic properties of it bother me a little bit at that height, because we can't manage it. And it's not one of those things like we can just run a ladder up to it and say, hey, let's take a look. It's rent a lift and go up and take a look. So it would involve potential maintenance if we wanted to check it out, of really having to get some expense involved.
We'll have a storm windows over that overleaf though, right?
So the cloverleaf windows have a mullion, which is the two pieces are on the third floor right now. We've got them there. When you look at the exterior pictures from the 1890s off the plate glass, there's a cloverleaf trim that goes around that window. That'll be a 5 to 8 inch trim board. That's what they're talking about making it out of on the exterior. I've also asked for a storm window behind it, because the architect feels the reason that was taken out years ago, when they put it up there with the trim and the regular window, so much weather at that height hit it, it rotted out really quick. And it was simpler just to take it out, put the plexiglass in it, and not have to worry about it anymore. So I've actually asked them to do the outside trim and mount call it a storm window. It's just a plate glass up against it to prevent the weather from getting in to the window itself. Still gonna have mullions in the window, but it'll be behind the storm window. And that's because this is 100% custom design, nothing like it exists. We're basically trying to define it and design it for something that'll be a permanent kind of thing that'll last a long time. And I, excuse me, and I think at this point, Jacobs is probably gonna a better way of doing it.
You're essentially creating a shadow box over the window.
Correct.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And L-chip is really big on this one.
This one actually, I was told. When our present was made to the entire big review team up there. George actually, I didn't realize this, had taken pictures of the two pieces sitting on the floor upstairs. And he actually talked about the whole tower, talked about this cloverleaf window and the bell. And I was told by one person, as soon as he did that. We didn't have too much chance of not getting the grant. So. So, you know where I'm leaning on that one? Store window rehabilitation. If we can approve this one, I'd like to approve this one. This one is outside the grant. And become part of the funds we've raised. So the transom side lights on the front door. Excuse me, the side lights on the front door, the transom over the front door, transom over the parking lot rear door. All four of those have been restored. Now they're open to weather. Trying to get storms to fit in those, it's a custom design. We got one quote out of the Allied company that did the low profile storms we have on the building. Those four windows were $3,800 before installation. A little more expensive than we want to do. So I've asked Jason to pull together a proposal that would give us a low profile wood framed storm that will mount toward, but slightly inside, recessed a little bit, but it'll basically allow full visibility of all of the window, except for that little tiny trim board around the outside. And that means we don't have to worry about weather against those, having to restore those windows or do anything else again. We just have to periodically paint that little trim around the outside storm.
Okay. Two-side windows, tempered glass.
Oh, yeah, tempered glass, because of code, we have to use tempered glass on the front window. That used, that's what probably almost 40% of this price was just tempered glass. And it's because it's such a big piece.
You need to prove the plans.
That one, I'd like it, so I can just let Jason know we can start crafting that in the shop.
And that's the 1800, correct?
1,800 for all four of them.
I make a motion, we approve and accept the bid proposal from Rooster Productions for the side light and transom dome windows of the historic town hall project in the amount of $1,800.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Last item quick, you have anything to look at, electrician? So we've had extreme problems since day one getting electric companies. Going Dover, going to Rochester, going everywhere around, going local. Have had hard problems. Jeremy Miller, the one that has worked for the town here doing it. I'm meeting with him on Friday. He's excited to take a look at doing what we need to do on the bell tower. The one other quote I have from Alpha Electric. Without getting into, I'm gonna call it a finished proposal, was more of an estimate. Alpha's estimate was $4,200 just to run some conduit and potentially do some hookups, and that was it. I know once we get into detail with them, there's always the add-on because of all the stuff that wasn't spelled out in detail. My gut reaction is, I don't know, I can't say until I've got it in my hand. My gut reaction is Jeremy's gonna work better for us because one, he's local. Two, he's excited to work on that building, and for the town. So I
And
think,
three, I'm gonna send him a text message right after this meeting and tell him he better give us the best price and shut it.
when he did the work here, when I was trying to do some stuff, when I was a selectman, he did phenomenal jobs.
He works, just today, he was working on the, Ospey Town Hall. Which isn't as old as our town hall, but it's right up there, so.
So yeah, so
Here, is it?
We
He
don't-
lives in Austin. No, he's back there though.
Yeah, we got to fix it.
He lives on Granite Road. Just down from the Four Corners.
I will schedule with Caitlin, whatever your next work session is, at least 2 weeks out, 2 or 3 weeks out, whenever you're meeting. I'll bring in, we'll talk about the ones we didn't approve tonight. And I've got a few more that I'm finalizing right now that I'll bring in. So the goal for 2024 is to really do the exterior work, called the bell tower work. So the cloverleaf windows, everything related to the top of the tower, have that once and done and have it done. Have it done by the beginning of August is the goal, and that's what we're shooting for a signing standpoint. It does involve getting 4 contractors all working together. The radio antenna and the live webcam cameras in the tower. I will be putting that information together and submitting that to L-Chip within the next week, because again, anything that's touching the building, they're gonna get it approved. So I'll pull that together and submit that. Assuming that all comes part of it, that actually becomes contractors 5 and 6 as part of the bell tower works. Everything is coordinated all within a 30 to 40 day period of time from the summer. So next year is the interior work. And we'll do the children's room. We probably will be doing the bathrooms. And we will be doing wiring. And we will be doing the office area, the inside foyer door area, all the way up to the double door area. That ceiling will get insulated underneath the temple. And then all the ceilings will go back 12 feet like they are right now out of the main library. The second floor, large room. We'll see that ceiling completed the same way at 13 feet. New wiring in that room. There'll be a new false wall built up against the temple. Because we can't nail anything against the wall from vibration standpoint, so we're gonna build an interior wall. That'll be from that wall, insulate that, so that the upstairs room becomes totally conditioned for potential use. And when we're done that, we'll go to page 3.
I just mentioned that the doors in the parking lot will be.
Well,
For next year.
Yeah, the goal is to have the double doors done before contract work for what I just described, children's room and upstairs, next year happens. By doing it as a bigger project, so we raised money beyond the L-Chip grant. By having everything done, we're gonna get better pricing from a contractor standpoint than we would by doing a small project. So, I've been told we'll probably save as much as 20 to 30% by having a one larger contract doing it at one time. The library from the front of the office right now, kind of where the office opening is. That'll be all plastic. Everything from there back will be shut down for about 2 months. The library is gonna be working on how to keep the library open in the main room during that time period. They're working on that now. We'll have to worry about porta potties and other stuff like that when we get to that. Thank you. That's this summer's work. So, thank you for
All
your
right,
time.
thank you.
Thank you.
Better. Thoughts, Audis, good job, Daniels. Dylan, Jack, my recommendation.
Alright, I'm just gonna stop the work session one. I'll
Okay.
start up the regular one.